Gun violence and political violence in this country is a tragedy, not just because we have become so numb to it, seeing it as commonplace at this point, but because it is a choice by our leaders, a policy choice, a policy failure to see the epidemic of gun violence plague our nation. And it is because Donald Trump and the Republican Party views politics as theater. They do not care about your life, and they make it very clear with the people they put in charge, the people they have run our country. And it is that plan that Donald Trump has put in place that is exposed and has backfired on him tonight after Charlie Kirk's death. We are going to get into it all and how Donald Trump's failures have been revealed. But first, I want to start with one of the most disingenuous responses to Charlie Kirk's death, Nancy Mace, who said this.
I'm going to say this. Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. All the kids of every conservative in the country call panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
By that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota? Isn't this on both sides?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm asking.
We don't know what condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
No, I'm asking.
No, not at all.
You said the Democrats
have to own it too.
But
Democrats own this.
But isn't there a problem with political violence across the spectrum?
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
Trying to blame Democrats after you have not only refused to act in any meaningful way to stop the epidemic of gun violence in this country, but have purposefully incited political violence against an oppressed minority in this country, in transgender Americans, is disgusting. Nancy Mace is a vile person who refuses to take accountability. And that is what we are seeing happening right now. Republicans refusing to take accountability for their actions that have gotten us to this place where we are numb to gun violence and where they encourage and laugh at and make a mockery of political violence. They did not care for the lawmakers in Minnesota who were threatened and lost their lives. They didn't, not even a little bit. They don't care about political violence. They care about what is politically expedient. And that was revealed in how Donald Trump's plans have all backfired. But first, I want to hear a real response, and that was from AOC right here.
Women of people across this country to ensure that guns and firearms do not get in the hands of people who are going to use them against human beings, period. Domestic violence is one of the highest indicators of whether a person is going to kill someone else with a gun or not. There are so many other indicators, and I think it is so deeply important that when a politician tries to blame words for inaction, they need to look at their action and their record. Enough of this. This is horrific. This is awful. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk risks an uncorking of political chaos and violence that we cannot risk in America. We cannot risk it. Thank you.
This is what leadership actually sounds like. A person who cares and acts as if they do, because it is honest, it is real, it is genuine. AOC is not trying to spin a narrative that she thinks will be politically helpful, but that is what we have seen so much from this administration. Trying to play games, thinking it's all theater. But that is just not the case. There are real outcomes that we see as a product of the ignorance and the evil of this administration. And now it is affecting one of their very own, because Charlie Kirk's assailant is still on the loose, and largely that is because of this report right here.
Many FBI agents who have been devoted to domestic terrorism in particular, domestic terrorism squads and those working on domestic terrorism cases, have been diverted to the immigration enforcement effort, which is the thing that the FBI normally does not do. They've been required to go out on patrol, some full-time, some have just walked away from their domestic terrorism duties. And this is at a time when, as we all know, domestic extremism in this country is on the rise and political violence is on the rise. The FBI is the agency that we expect to address that, and it's not clear that all the resources that are capable of being brought to bear on this problem are in fact being brought to bear.
Donald Trump has made us all less safe in the name of making marginalized communities, immigrant communities in this country be scared. Donald Trump is making you more unsafe so he can intimidate the people he doesn't like and who look different from him. That is where we are. That's where we are. The president who said he was cracking down on law and order by sending as many of his mass thugs across the country to places that they don't need to be is now jeopardizing everyone in the state of Utah, everyone around the country, because this assailant is still loose, but has contributed to the reason that one of the biggest supporters of his movement lost his life. They have to reckon with that. But I just don't think that they care. I really don't. I don't think they can hold space for those two ideas in their head at the same time. All I know is that Donald Trump has already made this action, already diverted any FBI agents he didn't fire for doing their jobs, who he moved to work for ICE, that Donald Trump will be ramping up his police state, that Donald Trump will be giving as much attention as possible to pushing false narratives around Democratic rhetoric that he blames for these tragedies of political violence. Democrats who rightfully point out that Donald Trump seeks to be an authoritarian are the problem rather than the authoritarian actions. That Donald Trump's own vice president, who called him America's Hitler, that's fine. That's okay. We're not going to worry about that. But then Donald Trump wants to say it's Democrats who call him a Nazi. They are responsible. No, they don't actually care. This is an opportunity for them, and we have to be just as loud, if not louder, in calling them out and making clear what this is. This is an opportunity for Donald Trump. He wants to inflict his intimidation. He wants to silence you. He wants to build out his police state, and they don't actually care. It will not be in the name of safety, because if it was, they would care about the guns, because it is the guns. But they don't care, and they never have. But someone who does, and who articulated, I think, a message that is important tonight in a way that we all need to hear, is Senator Chris Murphy right here.
We are, of course, following the breaking news out of Utah right now. And I just want to sort of clarify where we are right now. There was back and forth about whether a suspect, a person of interest, or a subject had been apprehended. There was an individual in custody. Just moments ago, we got information from FBI Director Kash Patel that that person has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement, which would lead one to conclude that the suspect, whoever pulled this off, whoever committed this heinous act, is at large presently at the moment. We are, of course, going to continue following this situation. I want to bring in Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of the state of Connecticut. He has, of course, experienced horrific gun violence in his own state and is author of the book, The Violence Inside Us, A Brief History of an Ongoing American Tragedy. Senator, I wish that we did not have such regular occasions to speak in the aftermath of something, a wrenching and horrible act of violence, but we are here. Again, your thoughts about what we have seen happen today.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think about is Charlie Kirk's family, having spent way too much time with the sons and daughters and mothers and fathers of those who have fallen from gun violence. There's just no words to describe what they're going through right now. Nobody should have to live through this horror. But I'm certainly thinking about the quickening pace of political violence in this country. In an extraordinarily short amount of time, you've seen the murder of state legislators in Minnesota, attempted assassinations of the president of the United States. Obviously, January 6th still lives in our very present memory. And we've got to have a conversation about how we draw a line here. And we can't afford to argue who's more at risk, the right or the left. The fact of the matter is the shots are being fired at political figures, whether they are Republicans or Democrats. There has been a permissiveness about political violence, and I do think the President of the United States has to answer for the way in which he's created that culture of permissiveness, but there have been elements of the left who have lionized and celebrated violence as well, and this is a moment for everybody to assess where we are and recognize that our entire democratic experiment is going to crumble if people don't believe that they're safe when they express their political views.
Yeah, that's very foundational. I just want to note here, and we've been noting it tonight, that we don't yet know who did this. We don't know their motives. And it very well may be, as was the case, I think, in the wake of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, that those motives or politics were illegible, inscrutable, something of a black box. And that's part of the context here. Although the point that you make there, I think part of the reason we've seen such universal and unanimous condemnation, immediate, heartfelt, unanimous, is precisely because I think everyone understands that we feel like we're on the precipice of something that is not the sort of democratic society that we all believe in and want to have.
Yeah, that's right. And we do not yet know the motive here. I did hear the governor of Utah, somebody that I generally trust, call this a political assassination. Maybe he has information that the rest of us don't. But yes, and I think this requires a really deep dive into how we've arrived at this moment. It is about the celebration of violence that happens, the rationalization of violence, but it's also about a country where political identity has become really ahistorically central to the way in which we wake up every day and find meaning and purpose. And that's because a lot of other healthier identities.
I will not be silent. I will not have the intimidation that Donald Trump will seek to be used against me. Not going to let that happen. We're going to keep calling him out on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.